Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Zone to Speak podcast. We're your hosts, Debbie
and Juliana.
Welcome to today's episode of Zone to Speak. We have a wonderful and exciting guest with us today, Marcelo Penengo. He's the visionary behind the transformational success of Elite Cycling and Fitness, a local bike shop located in Miami, Florida. He transformed the shop into a successful and vibrant neighborhood staple, filled with warmth, quality, and top-notch sales and service across the board. Marcelo embodies a rare blend of kindness and passion that is truly inspiring. With over 7+ years under his leadership, Elite, I can attest to his remarkable character and dedication. From his Uruguayan roots to being raised in the big city of New York, he has life experience behind his belt. Moving to Miami in the early 90s following university, he got his start in the IT industry before he made his way into cycling, and the adventure was serendipitous, sparked by a colleague's introduction to mountain biking that ignited his love for the sport, embarking on a transformative path that eventually led him to Elite. We extend our warmest gratitude to Marcelo for gracing us with his presence today. We can't wait to learn more about his profound cycling journey to unraveling the secrets behind running a thriving business in today's ever-evolving marketplace. So let's get his take on it all. Welcome, Marcelo. Thank you for joining us today.
That was pretty great.
Thank you. I have some skills.
Yeah, much better than I could ever do. But thank you. No, this was beautiful. That was very nice.
It's very true. Like I said, I can attest to that. I've been working for Marcelo, just to give a little backstory, for over 7+ years now, off and on. He really knows how to run a shop and how to treat his employees well, and to cultivate a beautiful team that really grows and works together.
We love small shops to start with because it's just a different experience, a different type of customer service. And just to attest to what Debbie was saying, when you have a boss, owner, manager like yourself that actually treat their employees right, and there's a great environment for you to work on, I think also it's you understand that it impacts your business bottom line. Because I love going to the shop where I know Debbie, John Doe, whoever is there. They know my bike. They know what I like. They know what I want. It's a completely different thing than when you get to a shop, there's always someone new, or it's a big shop and nobody knows who you are and your preferences and your bike and what you're there for.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, how I looked at it was I wanted to approach it as how I would like to be treated, as if I were the customer, which I was for many years of other shops. Yeah. So I took that feeling and how I would want to be received and taken care of, and I wanted to implement that into a store. Now, back when I was starting this, there weren't that many kind of boutique stores, but back then it was about establishing a relationship with the customer and taking the time to do that, be driven by make a sale, or upsell. Yeah. And then to do that, I needed to find people with the right characteristics and personalities, and also the work ethic and the same mindset to create a team. Because, I mean, you can say what you want, but I mean, by myself, I cannot do it. I can't do everything. It was key for me to find the right pieces and the right people in the right positions. And I've been lucky enough to have had many of those throughout the shop's whole history. And a lot of them, they stay with me for a while.
Yeah. Awesome. I think you said something very key there as well, because obviously to sustain a business, you have to sell. But the pushing of products sometimes can come across as, I cannot really trust the shop. They just want me to buy things. And I become much more loyal when, I know the shop, it's not pushing product and just buy this, just buy that. And it's just.
Yeah, the way, the approach, or how I like to phrase it, and usually if I have to train somebody new, the whole idea is we want to educate the customer
Yeah.
as to the different types of products and the different levels,
Yeah.
and then have them make a better educated decision. Obviously, with us guiding them with whatever questions they have or helping them out if they're not sure. But that's really, and that takes time, right? And these days there's even way more competition than when I originally started. But that is one of the values, or one of the few things that it's hard to find online, for instance, that personal approach.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So Debbie was saying in the introduction,
Yeah.
I know you two know each other personally. I don't.
Yes.
That you came from IT.
Yes.
So just curious how the transition and what inspired you. I know a lot of us that cycle, love cycling and wishes we could do this for a
Yeah.
living, live, breathe, eat cycling. So what
Yes.
was your ticking point and inspiration?
Yeah, it was, I mean, it was a long journey that took several years, but basically went from being in the corporate world, and don't get me wrong, I loved the technology of it. I just didn't like the corporate world of it, the politics and all of that.
Yes.
I mean, I got to do a lot of projects. I got to travel the whole world, but it got to a point where I felt like I wasn't, I wasn't fulfilling something inside
Right.
fully, and I didn't feel like I was appreciated enough. So I had gone into triathlons while I was still working in IT. And then as things evolve, companies change and there's layoffs and they move and things like that. I took a 1 year sabbatical, and there I tried to find things that were interesting to me. So, I mean, I did a bunch of stuff. I got my lifeguard certification.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, congratulations, because it takes a lot
No,
of guts to leave something stable,
yeah. No,
it
no, yeah.
does.
So
I mean,
congratulations on the courage there.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was scary and exciting at the same time. Also used it as a way to kind of cleanse myself both ways, like of financial burdens and physically, like just getting healthier, working
Right.
on my health. So that combination allowed me to kind of find my way, or to find something that I really wanted to do and enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Um,
So you were
so
cycling throughout IT, or
yeah,
how
it
did
was
the
like,
lifeguard went to bike shop?
yeah, yeah. So I was a customer of a local shop, a very big shop, and I got the idea that this might be a really cool business for me to learn. And obviously, I knew the owner, so I reached out, and in my head, I was going to go and ask if I could volunteer, kind of learn the ropes. And as
Yeah.
I got there, they asked me if I had managerial experience. And I told them, yes, I do, but obviously in the IT corporate world, not in retail.
Right.
And they were like, "No, that's fine. We're opening a brand new store, and we need a manager, so we want to hire you." So
Hey.
I
That
went in
doesn't
from
always happen today either. You don't
no,
get those
no,
kind of opportunities. So you know what?
no.
I think something was meant to be there.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I went in with the mindset of asking for volunteer, and then I walked out with a job. So it was a brand new
Right.
store they were opening up, and I opened it up with the owner, and we were side by side for about a year, and then he let me run it, and then I ran that shop for like 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
And
he
then
yeah,
made it their
transition into
top selling
elite.
shop, by the way.
yeah. It outsold some of their other stores that were better established and bigger.
Yeah. But I think
Um,
that was also to you running it and you,
yeah,
in essence, putting your blend into everything there.
Yeah.
Because if it had been somebody else doing the managing, it might have been completely different.
no, no, yeah,
Obviously, you
yeah,
brought in that teamwork, that energy, that work environment, which everybody just excelled together. So, of course,
yeah.
it made it successful as a whole.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
100%. I started finding my little formulas, and also putting how I would like to be if I was the employee to be managed. So I would put all those things into motion. It was the first time that company had didn't have the turnover it used to have. So I kept my team. My core team was with me the whole time.
Yeah, I think that says a lot, though. You give people chances to grow and you offer suggestions, but you also listen. You help people to be better at what they do, and that gives people confidence. So you have people that don't want to quit or don't want to give up easily and they want to try harder. That makes a big difference, especially as a boss, because some people are just not meant for those roles. But that's something that I feel like it's natural for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll give you an example, right? So again, you have different types of personalities.
Yeah.
The owner was used to having people that were hard sellers, like just boom, 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 boom. And that's fine, but it needs to be balanced. So I hired some new people that were a little more shy, let's say. They were like an encyclopedia. There were certain types of customers that come in that don't want to be hammered by a really strong salesperson. They want to be educated. So I would place each customer with a proper salesperson, and then it built a well-balanced team.
It's so hard to keep up with the industry nowadays. Everything's changing so fast. Wireless, no cables, this bike, that bike, weights, carbon, titanium, those have been for a while. But, the technology and all those things, do you keep up with all these trends?
Yes, so that is a huge shift. I mean, when I started, it was pretty basic. You had like maybe 2 or 3 choices on each platform. Now there's endless choices, and then there's compatibility issues, and you have all these other things like, just even the size of tires. I mean, back then it was pretty straightforward. You had no choice. It was one
tire
type.
pressure.
Yeah,
Right.
tire pressure. Yeah,
people weren't playing with it the same way they are today, and tubeless options, and there's so many different options. There's so much different grades of tires now. Better materials, protection, for everything. And it offers you so much more capability on the road too.
Yeah, it's become very specific, and you really have to, again, have this relationship with the customer where you communicate. We ask a lot of questions, really try to understand what their goals are with the bike.
Yes.
Be exactly the type of terrain and the usage they're going to give. Also, physically, where are they, right? So you try to combine all these, and then going back to your original question, I mean, how do we know what to tell them? It's work. You educate yourself, going to classes and reading. We have to do the same.
Do the brands at all come to the shops and because I think it would be an advantage to them to educate the shops as well, so they would sell their products and why.
Some brands are way better than others in that respect, and it's usually related to the better ones are usually more successful. If they want to become a better brand, that's one of the key points. The issue is a lot of these brands have to have a local representative. So basically, you have the headquarters where you have an internal representative that handles your account, and then you have a local in your territory that handles that brand. So the strength of those people is equal to how much knowledge we get. Aside from that, a lot of these big companies, or the bigger ones, that have online materials, they have specific websites for dealers where they have educational programs. Back in the day, we would have to fly to their headquarters and take classes, and that's what a lot of us did. So I mean, that's how we get certified for fittings. We would get certified for sales, certified technicians, all that stuff. Now it's more online, and then you might have some local presence.
There's still some of these bigger brands will have online universities or learning about all their brand and how to market each product, different selling points to point out. And if it's a new upgrade on the product, what's different about it? What's better? So you can educate somebody when they come in. Why should I buy this over this? And you need to explain the value.
How do you compete as well with prices? I know sometimes I go online I try to support my local shop as much as I can, but sometimes I do have to go online because it's a big difference for
And
parts.
convenience too, sometimes.
Yes, yeah. This is probably the biggest threat to the local small business. And I'm not just talking about just a bike shop. In general, just
Yeah.
any local
Yeah.
small business online is a huge threat because it's impossible to compete for the same
Yes.
price because we have a whole infrastructure, we have a whole staff and our
Absolutely.
and a different cost structure, right? So we try to be competitive when we can. There are certain things that we cannot, but you try to add value in a different way. So it's not just buying a part. We can help you with the service, the installation, doing it correctly. I mean, we
Right.
have that all the time. Customers come in with stuff,
Right.
with things done incorrectly.
Right.
Um, but
Been there, done that.
yeah. No, but
We all
yeah, but
have.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's the strength of having a bike shop, and that I feel like we will stay around for that reason, but also because of the service and the teams behind those businesses.
Absolutely.
Because
yeah.
you can't get that same inflection from an online marketplace where you're being helped by a bot service and nobody's
No, in the
understanding
after
exactly
sale,
what
you
you're
need the
asking.
service, you need the installation or whatever it
You have
is. So,
questions and you want real answers, and you also
yeah.
want to hear from mechanics, which at Elite, I can attest to that. Everybody has so much wealth of knowledge, but also everybody's very personable and they want to help the customers or educate whoever walks in that has a question.
Yeah, going back to what you mentioned about mechanics, this
Yeah.
is going to be probably one of the biggest issues. It's a profession that requires a huge learning curve, and
Yep.
then you add all the intricacies of all the new components. Plus, you need to know the older components because bikes come in to get repaired.
Mm-hmm.
So to find qualified mechanics has always been difficult and now it's even harder. If we're losing sales to online, that means we make less profit. It affects how much we can pay mechanics. Having the staff to handle the shop, specifically in the service area, that's going to be a big challenge. It's already a big challenge for a lot of shops. We're lucky that we live in Florida and it's all year round. And that kind of helps because you got people coming from a lot of different places that want to be here.
Right. And people
But
can ride all the time. They need a repair all the time.
yeah, but it's a huge issue in a lot of other places, a lot of the shops. From me talking to some of the owners.
So true. I can't see that side of it, but I'm sure Juliana can attest to that, and others that live in certain areas where there's very small amount of season that you can ride outdoors. So,
Up north, there's shops that switch in the winter to ski. Uh,
wow.
Yeah. I've
yeah,
seen that in the
And
Alps.
that's so smart
yeah,
to have some
yeah,
Yeah.
sort of a backup in place.
yeah.
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 I mean, from a business perspective, I really don't know how they do that because that would be, to me, it would be an insane challenge to have to completely switch the whole store. I mean, I tip my hat to them.
I also have seen some shops that are doing now, which is, I don't want to say matching price, but helping the client order online, but keeping the client inside, like order online to the shop.
Yeah, so companies have come up with different approaches. The customer can order from the manufacturer to the shop where we get partial credit. And then obviously we help build the bike, or there's other instances where if they do direct to their home or consumer, then we don't get any credit. What we try to do is be transparent. So
Mm-hmm.
when we have a customer, we'll explain them there's all
Explain
these
the
different options.
process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's all these different options.
Yes.
These options help us to keep going. This other option does not. What are the benefits to that option and what's the downside? So then you explain it to them. Once you do that, the majority will choose the option that helps the shop. But you cannot talk to all of them, and you can't,
Right.
Yeah.
the convenience of shopping online, which I understand. I mean,
Right. We
I'm
all
not.
do it too
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah. I mean, I
our own way.
understand it's a massive advantage.
How do you decide what brands to have at your shop?
Yeah. So the big brands, to be honest with you, they're brands that I tried to test out or ride. It's brands that over the years, either working at other shops, being a customer of the brand, I've tried. I like to align myself with brands that give me the most support, also offers support to the customer, either technical or also with their warranties. They have proper procedures in place. Either they have a strong B2B website where it makes it easier for us to place orders, manage warranty claims, or also have strong local representatives.
Right. You need that presence.
Yeah, it's just like you build a relationship with a customer. It's a very similar process with each brand.
Yes.
So now, back when I started, it was very territorial because it was before the online basically took off.
Right.
So it was territorial. It was basically, it's like car dealerships. Each brand has a certain territory, and within a certain distance, you can't have a certain brand. So that was a challenge, and there's brands that I was going after for over 5 years.
Yeah. He finally got them though.
Yeah. Yeah. So now, once you're established and you have a strong lineup, it makes it a lot easier. Brands approach me now instead of the other way around.
Yeah. And it's really nice because the brands that we offer, I have to say, everybody in the shop either rides one of the brands, tests the products, offer all the testing programs for saddles, because every type of rider, whether it's on a hybrid or a road triathlon, mountain bike, electric bike, anything, that's main comfort is those touch points. So you have to have all the other products in place, and people want to touch that, which you can't do online. So that's a big benefit. That, and also fitting services and mechanics and stuff like that keeps a local bike shop running all the time.
Correct. And also, a lot of those things you mentioned are things that's a lot harder to do online. So again, we concentrate and put a lot of effort and invest in equipment and services that allow us to provide service or an experience that it's difficult to do online.
I mean, I see a lot of e-bikes coming into play now. I mean, we're seeing a lot in Miami, but I know in Europe, it's everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, that's the rental bike for everybody, especially where there's mountains, where there's different areas. I know in Colorado, different places in the United States. It's huge because everybody can get on a bike and explore now.
Yeah. That's one of the approaches. The part of the e-bikes that's growing the most, at least where we're at, and in the US, it's the urban or cargo style bikes. That the whole idea. So the whole idea is for you to replace the little short trips that you would normally do with your car, to replace those with an e-bike. And I do that from the shop. If I have to run some errands, either the bank, post office, go to lunch.
Super practical.
It's more economical. Every word. You don't have to pay insurance for that. You make an investment in the bike. It's also an investment in yourself. You get fresh air. There's so many benefits to being on a bike in general, whatever style bike there is. So I kind of wanted to segue into the benefits of cycling and what you get out of cycling as well, because you're not just a bike shop owner. How do you manage your life and stress from all of that? And what does cycling look like for you outside of the shop? Because I know that's become something more important to you again lately.
Yeah, no, I mean, cycling, it is exercise, it's therapy, it's it's peace of mind, it's social, it's all those things. And again, I mean, we're so fortunate we live in an area where we have it practically all year round. Just as obviously as you get older, maybe your goals change a little bit. The idea is just to ride as much as I can. That equals to me being healthier, helps my mental health, reduces stress, helps me focus, and I'm also out being social, right? You typically want to ride with people you enjoy riding, So all
it helps you to see what's going on out there and what people are looking at, what people are using. And seeing what the marketplace wants, needs. So it helps to be out there as well, too, for that. on
Yeah,
top of it being a business.
the second community here is really strong. It's massive,
Yeah,
and
it's changed so much.
yeah, it's gotten more diverse, which is great. Something the sport definitely needed. So that's great to see. I mean, we see that on
Yeah.
the roads, and we see that in the store.
But I saw most of that, a lot of that really strengthened and grew during times of COVID,
Correct.
because we saw it growing
Globally,
a
I
little
think.
bit more before then. But I mean, as a shop, you saw that change everything.
Yeah, COVID was crazy. COVID
Yeah.
was a roller coaster of emotion, stress, everything. So first started with so depending on where your shop is, whether it's in Dade County or Broward, you were treated differently. So
True.
the local government uh, did not distinguish bike shops as essential businesses in Dade County, but they were considered essential in Broward. So what does that mean? That means we were supposed to
Right.
shut down the business, which we followed the order and we started doing it the first week. Obviously, I thought I was going out of business. It was the end of the world. I can sustain the shop being closed for X amount of time, but there was no end date.
Yeah,
Scary.
And then yeah,
it
and
was.
then basically the phones, online orders, everything just started exploding. So where we kept this store shut, but we would take turns going in and managing, and then eventually we just put tents outside and we started just dealing with customers one by one outside. Nobody allowed to come in the
Come
shop.
in, right.
Yeah, and then we would rotate staff just so we had less interaction with each other. Because again, I mean, at the beginning, nobody knew anything about the virus.
Right.
It was just wild. I mean, the stress was brutal, and you had the stress of the business, and then the stress of keeping your staff healthy. I mean, at that time, we had staff with health issues. We had staff that were expecting their first
Yep.
child.
Yep.
Their wives were pregnant. I
Yep.
mean, it was a whole slew.
Yeah, right. You saw everything and
Yeah,
everybody experienced it
yeah,
together. And
yeah.
yeah, you were
And
very responsible too about that always. And still to this day, whether somebody comes in and somebody gets COVID, we try to follow a protocol, not just what everybody else is like, oh, you're fine, just wear a mask. It's taking care of your team in general and everybody's health.
the whole idea, right, is to stay healthy.
Of
I
course.
mean, that's why I
Yeah, we got to
cycle.
keep things
So, I
going.
mean, yeah, yeah. You just want to have, I don't know, a logical approach that works for everybody in the store. I mean, obviously, I spoke to all my staff and then came up, with a process that would work for everybody. The other thing with COVID is that first, you were thinking it was going to be a month or two, and then it turns into 6 months,
6 months.
and then it turns into a year. I mean, in all that process, we had to think about our mental health. And we were running nonstop, and people were starting to get burnt out.
The shop already had, I mean, I know you already had a website, but
Yeah.
you had already some type of e-commerce. So
Yes. Yeah.
that's great. So you were
No, that
not
was great. Yeah.
completely shut down
No.
and you were
Yeah.
able to
No.
envision and have this tent outside and be able to service your customers.
Yeah. With all that, I always try to stay with the latest technology. So we always had everything online. I mean, for the most part, we can do electronic payments, all those things, texting.
There's a lot of benefits to all these text and email and online services now that people can communicate.
No, again, like finding tools and options to facilitate A, our service, and B, the relationship with the customer. We had that all in place before COVID. We had a huge leg up over
Yeah,
some
I
other shops.
I
Yeah.
can imagine. One thing that I get asked a lot that I want to
Yeah.
ask you is,
Uh-oh.
some people are, no, it's a very simple question, but it's hard to
Like,
answer.
oh
I
no,
feel
what
it's
is
hard to
this?
answer because I cycle, obviously, but some people that have never done it or just done it as a child come to me and say, oh, I would love to get back to it or I want to get into this. What bike should I buy?
Oh gosh.
And it's a big question
Loaded
because
question.
if you say like, okay, my bike costs so many dollars, they're not ready for the answer. But also you don't want something cheap, heavy, clunky that you also are not gonna maybe enjoy your bike so much. So what do you do? Like, I'm a customer, I'm walking in and I'm like, I want to get into this. What bike do I get?
This probably occurs, if not every day, several times a day. So it's very typical, and this is where I said earlier, where you just have to ask a bunch of questions. You have to try to understand as much as you can about the customer, because everybody's different. Everybody has different goals. They're in a different, they could be in a different financial situation than others,
Yes.
physical situation, all those things. And then once you gather all that info, the key thing is to narrow down the options. You cannot give a customer 1,000 bike options. You have to narrow it down. That part is what we have to do. We are the ones that have the knowledge and know what's best. So we have to reduce it down to a certain number of bikes. And then you go through the benefits of one over the other and the different price points. That usually reduces it. The next step, which is important, especially if it's a beginner who doesn't have a lot of experience or doesn't have a basis of comparison. Like, for example, you've been riding for a very long time. You can jump on a bike, you know already whether the shifting is either good or bad or this or that, because you have a basis of comparison.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of the new customers, especially that came through COVID, did not have that, or it was a childhood memory. So the next step was to have them do a test ride, and then that answers a lot of their questions or their unknowns. And then from there it's usually pretty straightforward. It's price point, availability, and hopefully they like a particular color. So, I mean, I used to do triathlons. It's similar to that as well. A triathlete would come in and they would ask about hydration. There is numerous ways to hydrate yourself.
Almost.
Yeah, endless, right? It's not that one is better than the other. Is you got to find the one that works for you.
I had something fun. So anything like share a fun or like maybe not so fun memorable story.
One of the best things was last year. Glenn, who works for me, he's Jamaican. So
Shout
I was
out
in the
Glenn, by the way.
Yeah. I was in the back with a mechanic, and I hear Glenn just working with he was just dealing with somebody who walked in, a customer, and all I saw was just this tall dude. And then all of a sudden Glenn comes, not running but kind of quickly to the back. He's like, "Hey, do you want to meet the fastest man on the planet?" And I go, "What?" I go, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, he's here." I'm like, "No, he's not. I've watched him race all the time." So I'm like, "Get out of here!" So I go up, and sure enough, he's right there with Usain Bolt. And the cool thing is, so he wanted a new bike. He worked with Glenn. We had to order because he's a big dude. But he's like, "Hey, in the meantime, I have this thing coming up. I need a bike." So I personally loaned him my bikes. The cool thing,
to do something like that too.
That was it for me. I mean, there's been other famous people, but to me that was my top one. On a personal note, it's really cool and rewarding to see when a customer comes in just kind of starting out, and then he or she is your customer for years, and then you see the evolution. And and then when they tell you that, thanks to you, they were able to get into it and stick with it because, you helped them out whichever way, either it was a fitting, encouragement, or getting the right equipment. That's very rewarding. That happens several times, and that's beat. And it's probably one of the main reasons we all do this, is because this is not to become millionaires, because you're not going to become
it's not
one.
That type of business. You do have to like hustle and put yourself out there, but I have to say it is very rewarding.
It's very rewarding, and it's people who are passionate about the sport and just want to pay it forward. Just basically, we just want to get more people to get into what we really are passionate about and we love about it. So get those experiences.
That's
So that's
Love
pretty
it.
cool.
so true.
Support your local bike shop, everyone.
Yes,
You'll
please.
get the best knowledge, good service.
Do you want to share on anything else about the shop? Where can people follow you? Social media, online marketplace, anything else you want to promote at the shop or mention or shout out anything while you're
Yeah,
here?
I mean, we have all the basic things. In Instagram, we have the store Instagram handle and at Elite Cycling Miami, and we also have the website with the same name .net.
We'll put
And,
all this on the description of the
Yes, we will.
podcast.
Shout it out as much as I can in areas. I didn't want to be in sales. I said, I don't know how to sell. I don't want to work off commission. I don't know how to do that. And he said, no.
just like customers evolve, also we constantly have to try to work with each other and find the right place for each other. And I mean, you've been great with evolving into your role as a fitter. That's been huge, and you're actually really good.
Thank you.
So yeah, I mean,
Gonna make me smile.
I encourage you to keep going with it for sure.
I really like it. That's another rewarding layer on top of already helping people. I really like listening to people's stories and helping them. And I love that when somebody finally, you do make that change, and you know this because you're a fitter as well.
Yeah.
When you make that change and you know you're getting them into that zone where they're kind of dialed in, you see everything change on their face instantly. Like everything just connects.
100%. You will change people's lives when you fix some of those issues. 100%, and they will remember you.
It's a lot of responsibility at the same time, but that's also where it's so important to get the knowledge behind it, to study behind it, to experience it, to even make mistakes and learn and grow from them, because I've made many so far, but you know what? I've learned so much from each and every single one of them. So I'm grateful for every one of them.
Yeah. And that's why you always, like what we talk about, you always, whenever you have any doubt or whatever, fall back to the training.
Yes.
And then use that as your base and then start from there.
True. So true. Thank you so much for sharing with us today and taking time.
That was great.
Great to meet you.
We really appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
I just wish you both great luck and success. This is cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We got a cool thing going. Yeah.
Take it easy. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao. Bye.
That's all for today's episode. We want to thank you, our listeners, for tuning in. Your support means everything to us. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends. Feel free to share your thoughts and feedback. We love hearing from you.